Since we're going to be doing remote for a while or hybrid, I asked our immediate past president, Vanessa, to kind of take on the role as the president for the Zoom people, and then I'll do the people that are here. But since nobody here, I'm just going to go ahead and let Vanessa welcome our guests and just do a little opening statement. So please welcome Vanessa Waller.
Thanks, David. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see some new faces, and congrats to Bailey. I think you just recently joined officially as a member, so that's so exciting. Awesome. So usually what we do to kick off the meetings is just say a warm welcome to our guests. And we like to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. Just tell us your name, how you found out about us, and kind of what your interest is in Toastmasters. A lot of people have various different backgrounds. I know we're a pretty diverse group, but we often have things in common, like we're all trying to work on our public speaking or presentation skills. Maybe you have a presentation coming up for work, and it's always kind of fun to hear from our guests. So I think we have a handful of guests here on Zoom. I think, David, you have anyone in person with you, or is it just you and Julian? Okay, so just on Zoom. Do we have any guests who'd like to volunteer and just say hello and introduce themselves? Hi, Daniel.
Thanks, Vanessa. Hey, everybody. My name's Daniel McClellan. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a member of actually 2 other Toastmasters clubs, and I'm actually going to be job interviewing in the next couple of months. And I'm trying to get as much repetition as I can with public speaking and just interviewing that type of stuff. So I figured, right now it's I have it 2 days a week. I want to try to add 1 more day throughout the week. So this is a perfect time slot for me. And, hopefully I'll get to attend again. It's nice meeting everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I think it's a great way to prepare for an interview. Those can be a little nerve-wracking, but yeah, definitely. We actually have a section of the meeting for impromptu speaking, which is kind of like being in an interview. So that's a great way to prepare for sure. All right. Well, any other guests? I think I see a couple others. Yes, hi.
Hey, my name's Ali Eskiev. I've actually been meaning to come take part since before COVID, when you guys were having it in person. I do digital marketing, web design in Charlotte, so I think it might help with my sales skills. So that's part of the reason I joined.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking on what I'm sure is another Zoom meeting. I know we all have a little bit of Zoom fatigue, but it is better than nothing. So thank you so much, Ali, for joining us. And any other guests? I think I see, oh, and you know what? We have Jimmy on the call with us, and Balut reminded me that Jimmy recently joined as a member. So congrats, Jimmy. Thanks for coming back and spending your Tuesday evening with us. We're really excited to have you as well as one of our members. So we don't need to do an intro for you because you're no longer a guest.
Okay. This is second time being here, so I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And I think I saw Clara as well. Is Clara one of our guests?
Yes, I believe I am. And last week I had some, I think, audio issues, and this week I'm just trading that for some video issues. But I did want to say I'm happy to be able to join you this evening. I have found that I'm needing to lead meetings and do presentations of things by sharing my screen. And so I find that I really would like to improve my presentation skills. And I'm as nervous as the next person, I guess, for public speaking as I am right now. So anyhow, but yeah, so it's, I'm glad to be here this evening. I apologize that you aren't seeing my video, but I messed with some settings and I'm not able to undo what I've done. So sadly, but anyhow.
No worries. Yeah, no problem.
I'll wave.
Some people, some people will be in the car and they'll call in from like driving. Do be safe, of course. We don't want you to do anything too risky, but it's totally fine. We understand it can be difficult with technology. And Jovan, we also, I think, want to welcome you. Are you also a guest, or did you also join recently?
She's a member.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm a member. Yeah, I'm a part of Atrium Health.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Yeah.
I missed you. This is like my day for thinking people are guests who are actually members, but great to have you. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all of our guests. And at this point, I'll turn it over to our Toastmaster of the evening, who will be kind of like our MC, guiding us through the various items on our agenda. So let's give a welcome to Ulut.
Thank you, Vanessa. Dear Toastmasters, honored guests, thank you for joining tonight's meeting. I will be your Toastmaster for the night and facilitate different components of the meeting, as well as set a theme for the night. And tonight's theme is play. You can take it however you want it. The way I took it is it's fun. It's time to play, unplug from work, and you can integrate it to your work, but do something playful. And I came out with that theme because a couple of weeks ago, I just went to a dollar store and I had a mission. I had $5 to spend on anything I wanted, and I was going to make this fun. So I just got really overwhelmed because there were a lot of fun things, but I got this yo-yo for $1 at the dollar store a couple of weeks ago. And I forgot how fun it is to play with a yo-yo. And it brought all sorts of memories from childhood. And I started to fail miserably at throwing it. And the more I tried, the more fun it got, and I got better at it. So it's been a delight to play with a toy that only cost me $1. And I invite all of you to think throughout the night on how we can make this moment, this meeting, fun for you and for others on the line. With that, I will go ahead and introduce different roles and people who are filling those roles to facilitate and help the flow of the meeting. First, we'll start with our grammarian, Sean Zank. Everyone, please welcome Sean to introduce himself and explain his role.
All right, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Yeah, can you hear me right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Fellow Toastmasters and guests. Yeah, my role as a grammarian tonight is to pay close attention to the good use of English language and also watch out for any kind of filler words like kind of like what I just used. And also just provide any feedbacks at the end of the meeting. And also it's my responsibility to introduce the word of the day, which I'm trying to pick something that's at least relevant to the theme tonight. That's why I picked hilarious.
What?
Hilarious. Obviously everybody knows what it means, which is something that's extremely funny or amusing, right? Right. A good example is our president, David Jones, usually tells hilarious jokes in his speeches, which is really helpful in engaging all the audiences, which I'm gonna put this name, hilarious, the word in front of my Zoom ID so everybody can see it, and I'll be known as the Hilarious Sean. So you're encouraged to use the word of the day as frequent as you want during today's meeting, and I will provide my count at the end of this meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sean. That was a great explanation of the role, and I'm looking forward to the use of hilarious throughout the night. Next up is our timer, and I'd like to welcome Julian.
Hey everyone, I'm Julian and I will also be your timer for the evening. So as timer, I will time the prepared speeches, the table topic speeches, and also the evaluations. Our prepared speeches go 5 to 7 minutes. Our table topics are 1 to 2 minutes, and the evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. Sorry. And so you also get a 30-second grace period on the beginning and end of your speech, except table topics, we try to get to that 1 minute mark. But if you're a guest, then we obviously waive that because we don't expect you to do everything perfectly. So, and it will not be hilarious if you go way over your time. So pay attention to the lights that I have right here. And I will change it to green when you hit the qualifying time. Halfway through, I will change it to yellow. And then when you hit the end of the qualifying time, it will change to red. And hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. So, and that is all. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Julian. I'm really excited to see the use of those lights. I remember that from in-person meetings when I joined. So that's great. That's a change from Zoom backgrounds. Next up is the section for our prepared speeches. And we have two awesome speakers tonight. And first is Elvis Lopez. Elvis is our club's secretary, and he is working on his dynamic leadership pathways. He's on level 3, and his speech is on the effective body language assignment. The title of his speech is Habits and Willpower. And I know Turk, who's with us tonight, has a book on this. So I'm really excited that we've got good company on the speech. And just to introduce the speech a little bit more, habits help us define new behaviors and remove bad ones. They can put us closer to our goals by developing a discipline to execute our plans. But to make behavior changes, we need more than habits. We also need willpower. With that, I'll turn it over to our first speaker of the night, Elvis Lopez.
Raise your hand if you have ever signed up for a gym and after the first 3 months, maybe earlier than that, you have quit. Mr. Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters and guests, good evening. I'm a firm believer of the power of habits. What we are is just a compound effect of the choices that we have made throughout our lives. Those decisions that we have made have defined who we are and have brought us to this moment, this day. Now, we have been told and we have heard that anything that we can accomplish in life, we are able to make it. But first, in order to do that, we have to define goals. And in order to be able to accomplish our goals, we need to make a plan. And then we need to execute on those plans. And don't forget the rewards. And also celebrate the successes along the path. So we all know the drill, right? Now, why is it that there are successful people and there are others that are just struggling and never are able to make it? Why is there that we have smart, successful, happy people and others that are somehow condemned to failure or unhappiness? Is there a secret? Or what exactly makes the difference? Now, the answer to that question might be really, really complex, or it might be a very simple one. We need self-awareness. Self-awareness that will help us examine our habits, our behaviors, our attitudes, and ultimately the willpower that will help us make changes. And when we do, when we make those changes, we're then able to empower ourselves, be more confident, and eventually get ready to make those changes that will help us overcome those challenges in obtaining our goal, or in the path of obtaining our goals. Now, there are things that we have done through our lives, there are things that we do on a daily basis, there are things that are negative and positive, we call habits, things that we do repetitively in such a way that they become automatic. Our brain becomes in a state of autopilot and we just do things unconsciously. Charles Duhigg, in his book, The Power of Habits, defines a framework that helps us make habits, or define habits. And also tells us that if we are able to change behavior through habits, we are going to be able to achieve any goals that we want. And he goes on now defining a method for 3 specific steps that will help us achieve habits. One of them is having a cue, something that will tell us or remind us of when we have to do things, like lacing up our shoes in the morning in order for us to actually go out for the run. We also need the routine. How often do we do it? Is it in the morning, in the afternoon, at a specific point in time, and a specific hour of the day? And we also need the reward. That shake that we make after we come back from the gym, or going out after having an exhausting day at work. Now, some habits may be really difficult to achieve, and some bad habits are also very difficult to remove. So, in order to change habits, we need something more that will help us with the extra effort that is needed in order for us to be successful in the long-term run. And for that, I would like to go into defining 2 parts of our brains. So our brain has one side that is called the limbic system, the one that is actually in charge or responsible for helping us with our emotions, our feelings, our desires. It's the one that tells us when we get back home after work that we're tired and we need to go to the couch. The other part is the prefrontal cortex that tells us and reminds us of our long-term goals. It's the one that helps us thinking, communicating. And it's the one that also actually tells us, you gotta head to the gym. You gotta head to the gym. It's like having those 2 little monkeys here in our shoulders, one telling us something and the other one telling us something. Now, for us to be able to develop those long-term minded goals, we need to develop habits, and we also need to continue developing our willpower. And the willpower is the one that is eventually going to help us change the behavior. To change behavior, we need to give ourselves more willpower. There are three separate types of willpower. I willpower, which is the power that we use to do the tough things. Like when we used to work out, clean out our homes or follow the dentist's orders to floss our teeth. Now, the I want power is the power that we use to resist our temptations. Like, I cannot eat that piece of chocolate because I'm on a diet. The I want power is the most important one, and is the willpower that actually tells our brain to remember our long-term goals, the dreams and our desires, the things that we really want. So it helps us remember why we are resisting that donut, or why we are in that treadmill in the first place. So we're constantly given different scenarios that challenge or focus on our long-term goals. And when this occurs, it is always far better to be mindful of the situation. Think about what we can make, or what decision we need to take that is consistent with what we really want in life. No matter how perfectly we design our habits in our lives, we will never be able to completely avoid the angel and devil in our shoulders scenario. So the best thing we can do to change our behavior and give ourselves a chance at a long-term success is to give as much power to our long-term minded side of our brain. Regardless of how tired we are, how overwhelmed, how stressed we are, we always will have the willpower to do what is right. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elvis. I know this assignment was particularly about effective body language, and I could really see your hands were very, very intentionally used. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on habits with us. A lot of great insights packed in that speech. So thank you for sharing. Next up is our club president, David Jones. He is on the engaging humor pathways. He's also on level 3, and he's also working on the effective body language assignment within level 3. The title of his speech is Yi-Yo and the Guy Who Tripped. Everyone, please welcome David Jones.
Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. How many of you have ever Googled something? Anybody? Every day? Perfect. Have you ever Googled typical old white dude? Because evidently there's a picture of me on there. And if you start reading through it, evidently it says, number 1, they can't dance, which I agree. I'm not a good dancer. I just kind of move around. I can't do anything. And the problem with me is the more that I drink, the better I think I'm dancing. So I keep drinking and keep dancing. But it's not a good thing. And over time, I've learned to do what I call the tree dance, where I plant my feet in the ground and I just go with the wind. I'm just moving. It doesn't matter what song is on, what song has ever been created, I can dance to it. It could be country, it could be disco, rock and roll. You do this, you can dance to it. If it's disco, you just do that. The other thing in the description of operations of what a person like me is, and they even made a movie about it, and Ollie's going to appreciate that, is white men can't jump. You know, we can't play basketball. And you might have noticed I had 1 to 2 inches of air between my feet and the ground. You can't play basketball like that. It's not our thing. The third thing that we can't do is communicate well. We can't express our emotions. We don't have a lot of, animation to our speeches. We're pretty much cavemen when it comes to communications. We're grumpy and we're always mumbling and hey kids, get off my yard. Unfortunately, I've done that actually a few times. But when we think about people who speak with their hands and talk and communicate like this, we usually think about Italians. The Italians are like, hey, how you doing? Or that pizza last night was so good with the garlic and the olive oil. They're always talking with their hands. But there's another group that can really speak well with their, what do they call it? The nonverbal communications. When we use our body language, when we're using eye contact in our hands, and that's our Latin friends, our Latinos. You see, I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, lived there my whole life. I left in my 40s to come to North Carolina. My ex-wife, she's Cuban, and she came over from Cuba. She was born in Havana. She came over on a boat. No, I'm just kidding. She didn't. She hates it when I'd say that. But she came over, and I never learned how to speak Spanish because she was always my translator. And when we would go out into parties and events, she would translate it for me, but I didn't really need translation because the Latin people are so dynamic with how they speak and they talk, and I could understand what they were talking about based on their nonverbal communications. And for an example, my ex-father-in-law, Yayo, that's his name, is Yayo and Yaya, that's their grandparents' name, and they're both obviously from Cuba. And Yayo, his real name was Saturnino Humberto Camejo. Therefore, Yayo is much easier. But we had totally different speaking styles. I would tell a story one way and he'd tell the same story, but it'd be totally different. For instance, I would say to Yayo, Yayo, I saw this guy walking down the street today and he tripped and he fell right in front of me. What a dummy. Meanwhile, Yayo would be sitting there reading the newspaper. He was old school. He always read the paper. And I'd walk in the room and be like, hey, Dave, hey, I got a story for you. Hold on. He'd fold up his paper, put it down. He'd go, let me tell you this story. You see, Yayo always had to stand up to tell a story. He could not sit down and tell a story. That's not how they operate. They got to get up and be very exaggerated. And the same story that I told, Yayo would be like, David, you're not going to believe this. This guy, he was walking down the street. I saw him. He's coming, and he's walking like this. He's walking all crazy. And he tripped and he fell right in front of me. And there was nothing there. He just fell. And I was thinking, ay, Dios mío, should I help pick him up? Maybe I pick him up and he's, my back, we're hurting. I didn't want to get involved. And he looked at me and he said, you going to help? I'm like, no, senor. No, I don't know you. Every single story that Yayo would tell was like that. A small story, a big story. They were always dramatic, over the top, very expressive. That was just the way he spoke. He wasn't trying to be funny or entertaining. Literally every story was like that. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because we're going to start transitioning from Zoom to in person. And for the past year, we've all basically been inside of a box. We've been basically mimes. We're trying to do our hand gestures, and this is our way of clapping, and we're kind of stuck in here, and all we do is stare at this little green light. When you prepare your speeches and you're writing them, you're usually doing them in a mirror. You're just standing straight, looking straight forward. But when you're here, it's a totally different thing. I remember last week when Ollie came in, he was excited. He's like, yeah, this is the Toastmasters I want. I want to be on stage. And when you're here in person, you have to be able to walk around, make eye contact, use your hand gestures, because part of your evaluations in person is moving around. If you just stand here and do nothing, that's kind of going to be a ding against you on your evaluation because you need to be moving, which we're not used to in our Zoom meetings. And whenever you start writing up your speeches, part of it is, at home, you used to just stare at the mirror. But now when you start writing your speeches on Zoom, you're going to have to start writing them in the living room where you're walking around, thinking about things. You might have to throw in a kick or something like that. Even if the kick has nothing to do with anything, it gets the audience's attention. And when you get here, even if you're nervous, there's a way around it. It's sort of like my tree dancing. You can do a tree speech. You can just plant your feet, stand here and just, here's my speech. This is what I'm doing. It's going to be great. At least you're moving around with your nonverbal communications. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. That was an excellent speech. And boy, did you show us some effective body language. Planting yourself and going with the wind and tripping up as your father-in-law, ex-father-in-law. Wonderful, wonderful. Very playful and hilarious as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. The next section of our meeting is what we call table topics. And this is a chance for everyone to practice their impromptu speaking skills. And to facilitate it, please welcome Vanessa Wallner.
Thanks, Balut. Hello, everyone again. All right, well, table topics is a really fun portion of the meeting because if you were thinking, I want to practice my speaking skills, but I'm not quite ready for the full 5 to 7 minute speech, this part of the meeting is for you. You only have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And I promise you, if you have a story in mind that you're describing, that 1 minute will just fly right by. So it's really not too bad at all. And I will ask you a question and you can respond using that 1 to 2 minute window. And you can tell a personal story. You can describe what a friend experienced. If you don't know anything about the topic, you can kind of just be really creative. So in keeping with tonight's theme of play, I came up with a few different questions that are all related to this word play in various different respects. So I'll start off with any volunteers who'd like to try table topics, and I guess starting with members first. Do we have any members who would like to practice their impromptu speaking skills?
I see Ali's hand up.
Oh, Ali, I'm sorry. I was, yeah, I didn't see you in the corner of the club view. So let's
Can you hear me?
welcome Ali. All right. So Ali, your question.
Hold on, can you hear me?
People. Oh yeah, I can hear you okay.
All right, good. I feel like I'm in church preaching a sermon right now. How y'all doing?
Yeah,
Amen. In the church, say amen. All right, ask your question.
So yeah, that's a good point. Good to check the mic just in case. So your question, Ali, is a lot of people associate play with sports. What is a sport or some type of exercise, recreational activity that you really enjoy, and what makes it your favorite sport?
Okay, my favorite sport to play is basketball because I played it growing up. I played it in high school, middle school, elementary school. And the one thing I like about basketball is that when you play that, you don't have to deal with as much physical trauma when you do football. Because at one time I did play football when I was a kid and I broke my wrist and I retired. And I said, I'm going to go to basketball because less physical contact, you know, less concussions, less broken bones. And overall, they get paid more than guys in the NFL to do less with their body. I'm not saying that's right, but I'm saying if I had a kid right now, I would prefer him to play basketball than football for some of those reasons. And that's why I love to play basketball. I'm over 2 minutes. I'm over 2 minutes.
All right, Ali, I think you maybe your screen froze for a second there. So I couldn't tell if you were wrapping up. Wonderful. I kind of agree with you there with the basketball versus football, because I've often seen, you know, football players getting concussions and things like that. And I've always thought, oh my goodness, that doesn't look very safe. It's riskier for sure. I can sympathize with that one. All right, do we have any volunteers, either members or guests? We'll open it up to our guests who would like to try a 1 to 2 minute answer to a question. Feel free to raise your hand. Oh, Bailey? Did I see your hand up, Bailey?
Yeah, I'll go if
Daniel,
nobody else
sorry.
wants to volunteer. I'll be glad
I
to go.
probably saw probably 2 of you at once. Oh, okay, let's do Daniel first. All right, so Daniel, your question is most people remember their favorite childhood toy, even as adults. What is your all-time favorite toy growing up, and what made that toy really special to you? Kind of like Balut and his yo-yo. What was your equivalent of that?
So my favorite childhood toy, right when you said that, that brought me back to the question you just asked to the other gentleman. So my favorite childhood toy when I was young is, I played baseball when I was little, and I had this little, I don't even know the name of it. I think it's called a pitchback is the name of it. It's this metal with this like kind of webbing material. You throw the baseball at it. And when I was little, you know, when I was on the all-star team, I'd go out there and I'd throw the ball to the pitchback literally for like 6 or 8 hours in one day. I'd do it when I got home from school. I would do it on the weekends. Right when I'd wake up, I'd run. I'd go grab my glove and my ball. I'd run outside, get my Gatorade, set it right next to where my glove and ball was. I'd just get my ball and just throw it against the pitchback. It's pretty funny because if people saw me doing that, they're probably like, this little kid is just sitting there throwing that ball against that wall all day. But growing up, that was my favorite toy, and I really enjoyed using it. Madam Table Topics Master.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. I've definitely seen a lot of those pitchbacks, are they called? Those netting set up on people's lawns. So I'm pretty sure you're not the only one who enjoys that. It's, I think, a really popular thing to do. And I'm sure it's kind of satisfying. It's so simple and yet probably pretty satisfying to just keep getting better and better at that one technique. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so I think we have time for at least 1 or 2 more questions. Do we have another volunteer, either a member or guest? Bailey, awesome. All right, so this question is kind of a different take on the word play, but basically the question is, if you could learn to play a musical instrument, and maybe you already play a musical instrument, but if you could learn to play another one, what would it be and why would you choose that instrument? I think you might be on mute. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I saw you on mute and for some reason I can't hear, and I hope it's not just me, but can others hear Bailey and maybe it's just me? Okay, so we're having some audio issues. I'm so sorry. This can happen. Yeah, that's weird.
Bailey, you can try logging on from your phone and we'll get you next time. So by the time the other one.
And also, that's a great point, Balut. You can try it from your phone. And Turk actually suggested if your volume's all the way down, sometimes that can, like if you click on your microphone next to the mute button and kind of click on audio settings, sometimes that can be what's behind it. But if you want, I can come back to you if you want to try either calling or just playing around with the audio settings. So sorry about that, but that can happen. All right. All right. Well, so while we wait for Bailey, do we have other volunteers for table topics? Got a couple other questions up my sleeve. Eric, I think I see a virtual hand raised. Hey, Eric. All right. So continuing our theme of play, one interesting question that I was thinking of for myself. So this is kind of a weird one, but I think it's kind of interesting. So when we're young, we think of play as maybe roughhousing or make-believe. And when we grow up, we typically think, well, adults don't really play. But my theory is that actually we do play. We have different ways of bringing that playfulness into life. And for instance, for me, that looks like I love to read various articles that are interesting to me. I'm kind of a voracious reader of internet articles of all topics, and I'm very curious. And so that's kind of like my play. That's my free time. And my question to you is, what is your equivalent of play? Now that you're an adult, what is something you do that feels like play when you were a kid?
Whew. Now that's a tricky question. I have done running for 16 years, and I can still do that now as I'm an adult. I haven't ran in a while. I just actually took a run at a park not too far from me Sunday, and I can feel my legs just like buckling down because I haven't run in a while, and my legs are like, sorry about that, the ambulance is going by. or fire truck. But anyway, back to the question. Running has been a forefront for me for about 15, 16 years. And, you know, as I progressed through my years of running, I got more better, more stronger, and more faster than I have done in the past. So running has a lot of challenges, but you have to pace yourself and you have to have a clear mind because you want to run as a fun and enjoyable sport. Some people do it for competition, and I have done that so many times in cross country and in 5Ks, in 10K races. And let me tell you, it's fun, but very competitive. So if anybody's very competitive, do it. If you guys want to just run just for fun, by all means do that. So that's how I like to do it from a kid to an adult, is having fun, play with running, and I say it was enjoyable. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Eric. I did cross country running in college just for one season. I think that was enough for me. It was very enjoyable, very challenging, but it was pretty intense. So kudos.
I have a disclaimer. I've done it 6 seasons of cross country.
Wow, that is dedication right there. Kudos to you, because that is a hard sport. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I think I saw Bailey rejoin our meeting, or maybe she just hopped off for a second. Oh, here we go. We got Bailey's iPhone joining us. So hopefully we have slightly better audio. So thanks, Bailey, for bearing with us. Do you want to just do a quick mic check and see if it maybe is resolved?
Can you hear me?
Yes. So maybe if you just mute your laptop and have just your phone, but we can definitely hear you. So it cannot go, but hopefully let's give it a shot.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
you can. Yes.
All right, perfect.
Sorry about that.
No worries at all. So I guess you've had a few minutes to think about the question in the back of your mind, but just to reiterate, if you could learn to play a musical instrument, what would it be?
Yeah, so growing up, I actually played the cello. I wanted to be different from everyone else. I feel like everyone did the violin or the viola. So I wanted to do the cello, and I did that from, I want to say, 4th and 5th grade. And I really enjoyed it, but I had a passion for sports, especially in soccer. So I sort of had my attention geared towards soccer. But if I could learn a different instrument, it would definitely be the drums. I watched the movie Drumline, and I loved the sound that the drum makes and just how it sort of sets the beat of and the rhythm of everyone else. And it's sort of the heartbeat of everything. So I really enjoyed the drums and would want to sort of learn more about that and how to play it and maybe join a band. That would be cool. But I played the cello and would love to play the drums someday. So that's what I would do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That sounds like a good plan. I've often admired the drummers at the back of the rock band, and they seem so focused and just, I can't understand how they hit the drums so quickly. That's my one thing. I'm like, how do you do that? But that is cool. I think that would be a really fun instrument as well. All right, I think we are wrapping up. We're about at time, so I'll go ahead and ask for a timers report for our table topics participants. We have 4 different table topics, and I'll turn it over to our timer. See if I can find our timer. Julian. Who is, are you filling in as timer?
No, Julian is.
Oh, Julian, I'm sorry. Okay, Julian, I'll turn it over to you to do our timers report for table topics.
All right, so Ali, you were slightly under at 55 seconds. Daniel, you were slightly under at 56 seconds, but you're a guest, so you qualify. Eric, you were at 1 minute 34 seconds, and Bailey, you were at 1 minute and 9 seconds, so both qualified.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julian. And at this point, I'll turn it back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Vanessa. I forgot to ask for a timer's report on our prepared speeches, so I'll turn it over to Julian again to get a timer's report on prepared speeches.
Yeah, so for prepared speeches, Elvis, you were a little over at 10 minutes and 13 seconds. And David, you were at 6 minutes and 35 seconds. So David qualified, Elvis did not.
Thank you, Julian. At this point, I would like to switch gears into the evaluation section of our meeting. And to facilitate, I'd like to introduce Natalie Alberto. Natalie.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is my privilege to be the general evaluator this evening. I will be providing an overview of the meeting, but we will begin with evaluations of the prepared speech. Then I'll hand it over to Julian for a timer's report. Then I'll provide my evaluation, and then we'll have a grammarian's report before sending it back over to Balut. Our first evaluator this evening is Avinash, who will be evaluating Elvis's speech.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and respected guests. I'm Avinash. I'll be evaluating the speech from Elvis. So it was very good topic, Elvis. Habits and willpower, something which affects all of us day in, day out, everyday life. Looking at any speech, there are like a couple of components that I specifically look forward to. It's like presentation. So looking at presentation, the speech was very good. Your start was engaging. You asked with a question, which I always look forward to, how a speaker is willing to engage the audience. So that was really good. You were like standing up and presenting it, which was really nice. Though it doesn't matter, if you are sitting or standing up, if your speech is good, and if the audience are glued to that, that is the thing, that really matters. But it was, good that you were standing and presenting the speech. Your words and actions were like, full on display. You were taking, pause at relevant intervals. You were giving, good emphasis on the words. And there was strong, coordination between words and action, which was really, really good. To me, at times, it looked like, I don't know, like if you are a professor or like, accomplished speaker, you are very composed, and it was really, engaging. And I was like mesmerized in hearing, what you're saying. So that was overall on the presentation part. Now coming to the structure and content of the speech, you started well, giving introduction of the topic, habits and, willpower. You went into sufficient details. What is habit? What is willpower? And you went into the details how habits and willpower are interconnected. Looking at this structure, you also explain why it is important in our daily lives. That was good. You started with the introduction, then you went into why it is important, and then also you touched upon how to inculcate the habits and how to improve the willpower. So overall, I think it was a fantastic speech, very engaging. Looking at any areas of improvement, honestly, I couldn't find any other than timing. It was way too much. It's okay to take maybe 30 or half minute or 1 minute over, but it was it took, I think, almost double of the time allocated. That's the only area I would like to suggest. Other than that, fantastic and hilarious job in presenting the speech. Over to you, Madam Evaluator.
Thank you, Avinash, for that very thorough and thoughtful evaluation for Elvis's speech. Our second evaluator this evening is Turk, who will be evaluating David's speech. Over to you, Turk.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and David. Welcome to Toastmasters, y'all. Woo! Giving a speech is like play. Once you understand the goal, rules, and boundaries, then it becomes self-expression. Now, from David's speech, you clearly understand. You've seen an example of somebody who understands those three important parts of a speech. I liked it. Now, I have to tell you, I know David for a long time, and so I'm going to be a little bit more critical than I would say somebody who's giving their first speech. First of all, let's get with the good things out. The purpose of, or his practice for the speech was effective use of body language. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but he had a chair ready. So mentally, he was already thinking that there was going to be a point about Yiya sitting in the chair. So he's like, hey, let me put this orange chair behind me. Just like in any play, once you see an object, you know there's going to be a play for that. Amazing. Well done. High five. I get that. It's very cool. Now, I like the use of body language. It was really cool. I like the tree. I know a lot of white guys who dance like you. It's cool. That's how I got a game, baby. That's great. It's always funny. In fact, hilarious to me when an average white guy Googles average white guy and finds himself. The question that he started his talk with was one of those things like, hey, are you guys paying attention? That is effective speech giving. Amazing. I like it. Now, let's get to some of the stuff that you can improve. I thought this speech was David thinking, ooh, how can I do a lot of body movement and then kind of hodgepodge these different ideas. That's what the feeling that I got from that. Couple things that I noticed. Yiya's long name, dude, you could have totally say that with the Latin accent. That would be even more hilarious. And if it's your ex-father-in-law, why do you care? You could just butcher it, but really get into it like one of those TV announcers. Second, when you're talking about Italians, there's only one sign Italians do. So that would be easier to add that. Third, and this is the part of the thing, is the beauty of using the camera, you could really get in there and really use your body language. You know what I'm talking about? So those are really awesome things that I think you can improve upon. I thought the purpose of the talk was to re-educate, and you're the president of this club for this reason, to make sure that people know what to expect in that beautiful stage that I feel and warm up, do stretches so I can use the whole thing. I appreciate that. However, the point wasn't well. We started with the white guy and then it went to Latin guy. So it was like a story didn't quite finish. So a good start is really great, but a big finish, oh, that's what everybody remembers. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Turk. I love that energy. Italians. Timers report, Julian, please. Can you let us know how both of our evaluators did?
Yeah, so Avinash, you were at 2 minutes and 55 seconds, so you qualified. And Turk, you were at right at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, so you qualified.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Julian. And there will be a poll popping up on your screen momentarily so you can vote for your favorite evaluation of the evening. Now I have the opportunity of evaluating the meeting as a whole. I have to say that as the third hybrid meeting, it's going really well, in my opinion. I think that we have a great dynamic, and David has brought in high-tech advanced setup to the in-person meetings. Now, I've never been in person, so I don't know how much of this is typical, so you can keep me honest, but I think it's pretty neat that you've set up 2 cameras so that we get 2 different views, a speaker view and then the audience. And then you also had a big screen where we can, where you can see everyone that's on Zoom from your view. I thought that's neat. Then you had 2 microphones, it looked like, so that we could hear the speaker and then any of the audience members who were sharing or participating in table topics. That was a great addition. Otherwise, we might not be able to hear you all as well. I also thought it was really smart to add the 2 presidents. So having David live on site and then Vanessa as immediate past president serve as our president on Zoom and troubleshoot any needs. That way you guys were tag teaming. That was really great. I love Julian's lights. So it sounds like that might be something that was part of the in-person setup previously. I know we've been using the Zoom backgrounds and that was very innovative, but the lights are a neat way to also communicate time's up. Play, I thought, was an amazing theme. Thanks, Balut, for bringing that to the table. It's one of my favorite concepts and something that I'm working on. And fun fact, it's one of my favorite words in Sanskrit. It's called lila in Sanskrit. So it's to play or to have spontaneity. And it's an important part of doing anything in life. I thought the speeches were both very effective. Habits and willpower. I was taking notes. That's something I'm always working on, Elvis. So thanks for bringing that to the table. David, hilarious as usual, as a Latina and former Miami native. I felt like the yayo dramatic storytelling was very accurate and on par with the way that I tell stories as well. Table topics, Vanessa, fantastic questions this evening, aligned with the theme of play. And I like how you took us through different formats of play, from music to sports. So very creative in that approach. I thought what we could have improved on this meeting was a few last minute role changes. And I think that might be a bit more tricky to navigate in person once we're back live, because on Zoom, we can send each other some updates on any of those last minute role changes. But other than that, I felt like we had a really smooth meeting. We did forget the timer twice, but I think part of that might have been due to some of those last minute role changes. So the more we can prepare in advance, of course, the better it is, but impromptu things happen. So I felt like we adapted and adjusted nicely. And I felt like the evaluations were really strong too, very thorough, and Turk had great energy in giving feedback to David. So it was nice to see some of our more experienced members and to take notes and learn from all of you. Thank you for that. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Sean for a Grammarian's report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. It's definitely a great pleasure kind of listening to all of your speeches, and feel like it's an interesting road that you're trying to enjoy the speech as much as you can, and while still trying to pay attention to the language, which is pretty difficult. And I'm trying to get the count right, but I'm not sure if it's all right. But I can definitely tell the word hilarious is being pretty popular, that I think it's being mostly used. And I can get the name here. Julian, I believe you said it, oh, yeah, at the beginning of the meeting, and Balu probably said it a few times, and Vanessa, Turk also mentioned it. It's pretty hilarious to see everybody trying to use the word hilarious, and Natalie as well. And David, he didn't say it, but he just performed it. So for the filler words count, it's generally pretty clean. Well, I'm not trying to pick on anybody here. I'm trying to it's just probably for the ones that I really heard here. I think Balut had a few and Bailey had 1 or 2 of course myself had a few and Avinash and Turk had probably just 1, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, so overall, I think everybody did a pretty good job on the use of language, and then also the word of the day. Thank you, everybody. Yep, back to you, Madam Mr. Toastmaster.
Madam General Evaluator.
Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you for that report, Grammarian's report, Sean. And back over to you, Turk. Abalut, sorry.
That's okay. Part of my first name includes Turk, so that can be confusing. Well, thank you everyone for a great meeting. I can't agree more with Natalie's evaluation. It's been a fun, playful, hilarious meeting. Thank you everyone for participating and engaging. To close us out, I would love to hear from our president who the winners of our various speeches are. David.
Yes, so tonight's winner favorite, because everybody's a winner. So our favorite speaker for tonight for the evaluation is Mr. Turk Akabe. Congratulations. Here's your fake ribbon. They're packed up, I'm not getting them. Favorite table topics is Bailey. Congratulations, Bailey. And by default, I get the speaker because Elvis did it on purpose. I was going to do the same to him. If he would have done under 7 minutes, I was going to go overtime to let him win, but he beat me to it. So you want to have any closing last words, Balut?
No, thank you, everyone. No? It's been an awesome meeting.
All right. And it was I was talking to Julian about being nervous and the public speaking. I'm not really nervous anymore, but it's odd that Turk, and I asked the guys here, I thought at home I was using Yayo's Latin, like, hey, Davey, I thought I did it, but maybe that's part of my nervousness to overcome, because I had the Italian and the Spanish accents prepared. They just didn't come out, and I guess that's part of the nervousness. I want to go, maybe I'll turn it back to Vanessa just to keep it on track, to have her get some feedback from our guests. So Vanessa, I'm going to let you close out the meeting for me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, David. So yes, one of our traditions at Queen City Toastmasters is we ask guests for their feedback. It can be, positive or negative. Constructive criticism is always welcome. As we know from our tradition of evaluating speeches, we always want to improve, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. So do any guests have feedback on how you liked the meeting? I think for some of you, it was probably your first time attending, so great to have you all. But anyone's welcome to share any thoughts.
Yeah, it was a great meeting, very well organized. Y'all have a good group of speakers that I'm attending.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Daniel. Great to have you. Any other guests?
This is Clara. I can add a couple of words. I think having come now for the second time, I would say that I'm getting a sense for the flow that you have, and I like the volley and the way that you play off of each other and the back and forth. I also see how you integrate so many parts towards the end, bringing up the topic of play and, I'm sorry, I lost what the first, one of the first pieces too, just how you volley back and forth. Oh, the word hilarious. And I think that's, it's neat to see how quick you are on your feet and pulling together those different pieces. You remember them. So kudos to y'all.
Awesome. Thanks, Clara. Nice to have you back to join us for a second time. That's always good. All right. Any other guests? Yes.
I was really impressed with how everything flowed. It honestly seems like everyone's been doing it for so long. I guess the question is, do you guys go over the structure? It feels like it's easy to pick up on the go, but I guess would there be kind of introductory kind of layout of how everything runs?
That's a great question, Ali. So when I first joined, we were in person and we were all given handouts as far as the agenda. And since transitioning to Zoom meetings, we have just done that on our website. So we realize it's maybe a little bit confusing if you join a meeting as a guest, you've never been to one of these, and it's a little disorienting because you don't know what's maybe coming next. So that is a wonderful point. And it's something we should probably think about because we have been on Zoom for a while now. And a lot of us members, we have access to the website, and guests probably don't have access to our agendas. So that's maybe a good point. We'll have to think about how we do that. Our website is a little bit, well, it's okay. It's pretty good, but it's not the easiest to change. So, well, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Ali, because yeah, we apologize to guests for, potentially being a little confusing, but yeah, that's a good point. All right, well, I think that's all of our guests, but thanks again, everyone, members and guests, for making it another successful meeting. And I think at this point, I did want to mention our treasurer, Balut, just reminded me. So if any guests are interested in joining the club, you can be in touch with him. He will take, club dues payments over Venmo. It's a really simple process to sign up. And he sent a message to everyone for how to reach out to him. If you are interested, you're welcome to shoot Balut an email. And I've been a member here for years now. It's a really fun club to be a part of. So we hope you'll consider joining. And I think that's it from my end as far as announcements. So do we have any other announcements, David, or other club officers before we close out?
I'll just add one thing. I know we have a lot of new members. Love seeing you all. And I encourage all of you to sign up to give your first speech. I would love to hear more from you. So Bailey, Sean, Jimmy, Javon. So would love to hear more from you. Don't feel like you can't sign up. So love to hear you all give your first.
That is a good thing to be reminded of. Thanks, Balut. Yes, sometimes the icebreaker speech is a little intimidating, but it's definitely worth it. It's a good experience to give your first speech, know that you can do it. All right.
I just have something real quick, Vanessa. If you're a member on your phone, there's a little app called the Group Me, and that's kind of how we all communicate and talk. So if you have joined, if you don't have it, you should get it. That way you can let us know if you're running late or if you have to cancel or something like that, because that's when we're here at the meeting, it's easier to just check our Group Me and see what's going on. So if you can download that and let us know, then we can send you a link to it.
David, can you repeat what app that is?
It's a Group Me, GROUPME. It looks like a little smiley face. It's where is it? Where?
Yeah, I think it's literally spelled like Group Me, all one word.
Or did I change the site? Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Okay. Yeah, there. It's like a little smiley face. It's underneath my Gmail. So. And I want to apologize to everybody. We always try to be done by 7:30, but we're running a little late. So, but I think we'll officially call the meeting closed. Hold on.
Yeah.
We have this. I get to use this at the end. Jolene uses it at the beginning. So there, we're officially done, but everybody's welcome to stay for the post toasties, which we got from AM Lockport and talk. But good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Next Tuesdays or? Oh, it was just today was an odd day. Okay. Okay. Turkey, you gonna start being able to? He's gone. Job, Elvis.
Yeah, well, I couldn't rehearse my speech, and that was the first time I gave it, so I had no idea what time it would take, and I lost sight of the video, so I couldn't see the timer either to cut it. Yeah. I was surprised that it took 10 minutes actually. Wow, that was.
Yeah, I saw you laugh when he gave the time. It was like
really long. I didn't realize that until I finished.
You can take them with you if you want. Yeah. Yeah, I started my speech yesterday. I just know you were the only speaker, so I said, well, let me do another speech, and so I started mine yesterday, and this is stuff. But
I've been in meetings all day. I did it. I wrote it this morning, so I couldn't actually rehearse it. So like a few minutes before, I was actually reading it, and then just went up with it. But I couldn't actually take the time. I could have actually cut a few things. But,
right. Yeah, you mentioned last week that I was monotone. So I was monotone again today.
No, this time you actually were very graphic with your tone and also with your gestures and everything. So that was, I think it was perfect.
He just mentioned I didn't do really an Italian or a Latin accent. And when I was talking about my father-in-law, I thought I was doing, hey, Davey, you know, I thought I was, but I guess it didn't come out. I don't know. It was weird.
No, you know, you did it, you know, everybody would actually, you know, see it in a different way. I think it was, in terms of tone and gestures and everything, I think you did awesome. The only thing that I would actually comment on in terms of improvement would have been the structure, the same thing that he mentioned. But
yeah.
Other than that, you know, the goal of body language, it was well well accomplished. That was it was a great demonstration of body language. You did great.
All right.
But I don't know how my body language was actually. I didn't get any feedback about my body language. I felt like I was, you know, I use most of the time I use my hands, but I don't know if that was, you know, how did that look? Was it, how do you see my body language? Was it?
I will post the